Good morning. How's that? Welcome to the North Shore Unitarian Church, where our mission is to empower people to live with greater depth, meaning, and purpose. Now, my name is Marcia Stevenson. This is Sonny Wachowski. I'm your board president, and I'm going to be welcoming you this morning and making some announcements. What I love about this community is the way we can draw on the power of the imagination to help us through times of uncertainty. In a certain story that some of you know, a wise elder uses magical powers to see the past clearly, a vision that guides action in the present to work for a better future. More about that later. We're a busy congregation, and we're about to get busier with the startup of our fall schedule. Please note the announcements in your order of service and on the screen. Here's a couple of highlights. Corn roast on September 9th. This year we're going old school with just corn, finger food, and hot dogs for the kids. You can RSVP online, or you can call the office and let them know you're willing to help with that simplified version of the corn roast. My spouse, Jim Stevenson, will welcome your offers of help. Right now, he is driving a car with the minister, Reverend Grace Simon, who facilitated the Ministerial Search Committee retreat this morning. He's driving her to the train station, but he'll be back later. Also, please join me and your Board of Trustees on September 15th for our workshop on congregational change with Reverend Stephen Jonason. Now, while he may not have a pensieve in his briefcase, Reverend Jonason has helped many congregations over the past several decades to see their future clearly by understanding their current situation and benefiting from the advice of a wise elder of our movement. There are more details about him and his presentation at the back of your order of service today. And I'm just wondering, how many other people in this congregation have ever heard Reverend Jonason give a presentation? Okay, there are some hands. I welcome you to engage any of us in conversation after the service about his gifts of storytelling and his ability to help a congregation see clearly to chart their course. Lastly, I'd like to give an extra welcome to any newcomers or visitors who might be with us today. And I see we have some old friends of our congregation in the building today, and I'm happy to see you all and glad you could share one of the last days of summer with us here. If you would like to learn more about our community, I'd encourage you to sign in with your contact information on our iPad in the foyer. If you have any questions about our congregation or our Unitarian Universalist tradition, our connections coordinator, Ariel, or any of us would be happy to chat with you. Anyone wearing a greeter button today? Yes, there they are in the back. Stuart and Jean waving at you. There are greeters. They're extra happy to talk to you. After the service, I'd like to invite everyone from longtime members to old friends to first-time visitors to come downstairs for conversation. Yes, correction. Upstairs. Good call. Thank you, Joy. No, we'll have it up. Upstairs is better. In this community, we celebrate people from all walks of life, no matter how you make your living or how you experience the sacred. No matter who you are or who you love, we hope you will feel welcome here.
Good morning, everyone. Let's just take a deep breath. You know, we live in a world where there is so much sadness and struggle and even horror that at times I get very discouraged and I think, what is our world coming to? And then I take a deep breath and I take myself into community, because it is here in community, particularly a religious community, that we can look each other in the eye, and we can tell the truth, and we can hurt, and ultimately we can love. We can love the way that communities love one another, and we can call each other to our best selves, because that's what we should be doing for each other, right? Is calling each other to our best selves. And so as we gather today in worship, let us remember that all the mistakes we've made, all the hurts we've caused, all the people that we've let down, yes, they're always with us. But we can bring our full selves here, know that we are loved, and we can reach out and love to others. For ultimately, that's really what it's all about, isn't it? I think so. For all that is our life, then, we bring our thanks and our praise, for all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. These are the wonderful words to the hymn that I invite you to sing now. This has such a beautiful tune, and I just love singing this. So let's rise in body or spirit and sing together, for all that is our life.
This summer, while at August Elliott Summer Camp, I became engrossed in a book called The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. This story brings you into the lived experience of a 15-year-old boy who describes himself as a mathematician with some behavior difficulties. The story is narrated in the first-person perspective of a young man who is on the autism spectrum. Besides being an engaging mystery, the book has increased my knowledge, understanding, and compassion for people facing complex challenges, communicating, and being understood. The Harry Potter books also help us to see the world through a misunderstood child. And both books, along with many wonderful narratives, create worlds that open our eyes and help us see things differently. And so today, I dedicate the lighting of this chalice to compassion, which is another word for love.
I think I see something in the far distance. What might it be? Oh my goodness, will you look over there? Oh my goodness. Oh, no, over here, Hedwig. Oh. Oh, thank you, Hedwig. Well, I wonder what this might be. It's wonderful to get messages from owls, isn't it? I hope you have your owl somewhere to bring you your messages. Oh my goodness, it's a letter to you. This letter is written to you. It says, "Dear North Shore members and friends, I am so excited that you were talking about Harry Potter in your service today. I think there is so much to learn from him and his friends. As I understand it, the word worship means to shape things of worth. Well, the stories about Harry are quite worthy of your attention. I have heard about your church." He's heard about our church and the things it believes in. Here at Hogwarts, we are impressed by your commitment to diversity, your insistence that children learn and grow through exploration, and your belief in the unity of all creation. Most important, however, is our shared belief in the power of love. And then it says he's going to tell us a secret. The best kind of magic isn't found in our wands or our broomsticks, or even in the many spells we learn to cast here at Hogwarts. The best magic is found in love, what some people call the deepest magic. That's what I tried to teach Harry during his years at Hogwarts, and that's what I hope you learn from reading the books about him. Have a great service today. Hope to see all of you at Hogwarts for the big first day of term party. Magically yours, Albus Dumbledore, Hogwarts headmaster. Well, I think that's pretty special, don't you, to get a letter from Dumbledore? And who's going to the first day of term party, if we can get there? All right. Oh, boy. Well, thank you, Albus. Oh, I shouldn't call him by his first name. Dumbledore. Thank you, Professor Dumbledore, Headmaster Dumbledore. I would invite us now to reflect on these words as we sing together, Standing on the Side of Love, which was written by our very own Jason Shelton, a Unitarian Universalist minister and a wonderful songwriter. So this song is not super easy to sing. It's got a lot of moving parts to it. So just trust that you can barrel on through and enjoy it. Standing on the Side of Love. Please rise in body or spirit. Standing on the side of love, walking on the side of love, dancing, sitting, singing. When we come to the side of love, we know it, don't we? And we understand that it's precious, and we must keep the flame burning of that love. I find it can be helpful at times to reflect on how important gratitude is. And I think that remembering to say thanks is a big part of showing our love to others. And so I'm going to invite you to reflect with me on these words that were written by the late Richard Fuchs. And after I read them, I will invite us into a time of quiet and to think as we do so in the quiet of all for which we are thankful. For the sun and the dawn, which we did not create. For the moon and the evening, which we did not make. For food, which we plant, but cannot grow. For friends and loved ones we have not earned and cannot buy. For this gathered company, which welcomes us as we are from wherever we have come. For all our free churches that keep us human and encourage us in our quest for beauty, truth, and love. For all things which come to us as gifts of being from sources beyond ourselves, gifts of life and love and friendship. We lift up our hearts in thanks this day. I know that each of us carry in our hearts people that we are thinking of, people who are struggling, people who need to know that they are held in beloved community. If there is someone who you wish to bring into your heart first, and then into your mind, and then to your lips. As I light this candle, I invite you to speak your names into this space now. May all the names that have been spoken and the names that remain in our hearts and the names of those we do not know but who also need to be surrounded by the great love, we give great and glorious thanks. And I light this candle as well for all the suffering in the world, but particularly today, once again, for all that is burning. Here we contain the flame in safety. We look at the flame in awe. But fire may be friend, but it is also foe. And so we hold in our hearts all those who have been impacted by the fires and pray that the healing rains will come soon. And as Toby plays some music, let us gaze upon these candles and hold all the suffering, all the blessed in our hearts. Well, I've been a Harry Potter fan since I first read the books to my nephew 20 years ago. Since J.K. Rowling wrote them, they have become more than just a worldwide phenomenon. For many, her books have become, frankly, sacred texts. In fact, our own Jessica Motherwell turned me on to a podcast called Harry Potter and the Sacred Text. Very interesting. The podcasters explore the themes of the Harry Potter books as if they were religious, which indeed they are proving to be, at least for many. I first figured this out many years ago when I was living outside of Washington, D.C., and regularly read the Washington Post. The following reading comes from that stellar newspaper whose tagline is, "Democracy dies in darkness." Powerful stuff. I found the article shortly after Rowling published the last Harry Potter book and made the announcement that Albus Dumbledore, the fatherly and profoundly wise wizard and headmaster at Hogwarts, the school for wizards, was gay. After this announcement, I was delighted to discover conservative author and Washington Post journalist Michael Gerson had written an article about Harry Potter and Dumbledore. Gerson is a former Bush speechwriter. And I know you all are Canadians, but I bet you've heard of George W. Bush. So I didn't agree with Gerson most of the time. But the article he wrote after Dumbledore's outing is worth hearing. It's a longish reading, so listen carefully. It gives those of you unfamiliar with the storyline of the books a bit of a heads up, and it addresses head-on the religious nature of the series. Listen as Sunny shares some of Gerson's wisdom, while about halfway through I will add a couple of my own comments as well.
The Dumbledore revelation was taken by many Christian conservatives as additional confirmation that Rowling is a corrupter of youth. What could be more subversive than the combination of witchcraft and homosexual rites? Having undertaken the monumental task of reading the Deathly Hallows, the last and final book in the series, I am certain this critical reaction is badly mistaken. Ruling out magic in children's literature would, of course, completely depopulate Narnia and Middle-earth, leaving just Silent Forest. The use of magic in fairy tales recurs for a reason. It reveals another reality, what C.S. Lewis called the deep magic. Just beneath the surface of our days, magic is usually the way that children are introduced to the idea of transcendence.
As a great fan of C.S. Lewis's Narnia Chronicles, I agree wholeheartedly with Gerson's assessment. Magic can be a powerful tool to help children understand the mysteries of nature and the wonders of life. My reading of the Narnia Chronicles as a child did not turn me into a Christian or into a believer in magic wardrobes, though I think I did believe in magic wardrobes for a little while. Lewis's books did for me what fairy tales and religious stories have done for children since people first started telling them. They got me to imagine a world beyond my own door and see good, evil, sacrifice, and most important, love in a new light. This kind of love, which is the theme of this month's Soul Matters, is powerfully present in the Harry Potter books. The rest of Gerson's article addresses this directly, though he uses the word tolerance, and many Unitarians would prefer words such as celebrate or affirm. I believe he's aiming at the same goal.
Tolerance is one of the main themes of the Harry Potter books. In a marvelous social comparison, lycanthropy is treated as a kind of chronic disease, with werewolves subject to discrimination as if they had AIDS. The political ideology of Lord Voldemort is Nazi-like, racist, and totalitarian. As the series progresses, the body count of this ideology builds. Like much great children's literature, the series takes evil, hatred, and death quite seriously. But the really subversive element of the Harry Potter books is the answer they offer to death. Voldemort, whose followers are called Death Eaters, believe that death must be mastered and eaten, resisted through dark arts that always involve exploitation and violence. Harry Potter, in contrast, is protected from death as an infant by the voluntary, courageous sacrifice of his mother's death. Throughout the book, you read of instances where love becomes a kind of magic that is stronger than death itself. For every reader, this is an affirmation of friendship, loyalty, and courage. For my children, as Christians, it is also a symbol of a greater sacrifice. These, of course, are central themes of religions, particularly Christian religion. And the question naturally arises, how can a book series about tolerance also be a book series about religion? This represents a misunderstanding of both tolerance and faith. For many, tolerance does not result from the absence of moral conviction, but from a positive religious teaching about human dignity. Many people believe, not in spite of their faith, but because of it, that all people should be treated with kindness and dignity. Above all, believers are called to love, even at the highest cost.
Thank you, Sunny. Such an interesting article, isn't it? Well, as you can probably tell, I am a big Harry Potter fan. So if you're not a fan, I'm sorry you came to church today and are going to have to put up with me talking about the Harry Potter books. It is summer, after all. We're allowed to be a little, But, I love magic in storybooks, too, not just Harry Potter. I was a fan of magic before Harry Potter. I read every magical theme book from, of course, the Narnia Chronicles to Edward Eger, Half Magic. Anybody ever read Half Magic? What a great book. 5-part Prydain series by Lloyd Alexander. Anybody? Joy's over there nodding her head. Does anyone read children's books anymore? Come on, friends. Well, I'm a sucker for these kind of books. And the Harry Potter series found a home in my heart. And I've read all of them at least twice and seen all the movies. In fact, we had a marathon at our community recently. It was fun to see them all over again. And thank you, Toby, by the way, for playing some Harry Potter music for us. Pretty cool, huh? Well, for those of you unfamiliar with Harry Potter, the book spans 7 years in the lives of him and his wizard friends. Read slowly over a decade, I gradually watched as the spiritual themes of Harry Potter emerged. When I got to the end, I realized that J.K. Rowling's last 2 books in particular are the most overtly religious and deserve our reflection. I mean, after all, the Potter books are among the most popular books ever written. And probably today, there are probably more people who have read the Harry Potter books than have read the Bible. I really think that's probably true. So, to begin, I think I should give those of you unfamiliar with the Harry Potter books a little brief overview of the story arc. Harry Potter is an English boy whose parents died when he was just 1 year old. Told by his unkind guardians, the miserable aunt and uncle he's forced to live with, that his parents died in a car crash, he is shocked to discover at the tender age of 11 that not only did they not die in a car crash, they died protecting him from a killing curse thrown at him by the most evil wizard of all time, Lord Voldemort. Harry learns in book 1 that he too is a powerful wizard, and because he is, he must be trained at the best school for wizards in the world, at least according to its students, Hogwarts. Hogwarts is the venue for the bulk of the stories, and in fact, some have argued that it's even a character in the books. And it's there that Harry learns about his past, how his mother and father met there, fell in love, how they joined a secret society called the Order of the Phoenix to stand against the growing power of the evil Lord Voldemort. He also discovers that he, Harry Potter, is famous throughout the wizarding world for being the only wizard to survive a Voldemort curse. That he did so at the age of 1 and has no memory of it makes no difference. He enters the school as a famous person, even as he has so much to learn about who he is. Well, thankfully, early in his Hogwarts career, he is befriended by the headmaster of Hogwarts, the wise and extremely powerful Albus Dumbledore. And Dumbledore helps Harry in so many ways, encouraging him to trust his good instincts and to grow into his gifts. Throughout the series, Harry is challenged again and again to face up to Lord Voldemort, who, after almost dying, finds a way to return to human form. He who must not be named, which almost everyone but Harry and Dumbledore calls Voldemort, has as his sole purpose in life to settle the score with the only one he could not defeat, Harry Potter. So throughout his years at Hogwarts, Harry is beset upon by Voldemort and his followers. Well, despite this challenging part of his life, Harry discovers much to love about Hogwarts. He develops deep friendships, particularly with Muggle-born, aka normal human, Hermione, the smartest witch in the school, and with Ron, the youngest son in a large but poor wizarding family. With his two sidekicks and many other interesting characters that people of J.K. Rowling's imaginary world, Harry, over the course of the 7 books, grows up. As Harry matures, so do the themes Rowling writes of in her books. As Michael Gerson said so well in the article Sunny and I shared with you earlier, like much great children's literature, the series takes evil, hatred, and death quite seriously. Without taking all day to tell you the entire story of Harry Potter, and if you haven't read the books, you should, they're good, I want to move quickly to what emerges in the last 2 books, both very bleak and powerful. After much trial and error that you read of in the earlier volumes, by the 6th book, Lord Voldemort returns with a vengeance, fully embodied and eager to rule not only the wizard world, but the regular human world as well. With support of his Death Eaters, Voldemort seeks more and more power. Harry, who has this strange connection to Voldemort, symbolized in a lightning-shaped scar on his forehead, is able to occasionally read Voldemort's thoughts. Harry's great friend and mentor, Albus Dumbledore, who knows Voldemort well from when he was a student named Tom Riddle, also learns much about what Voldemort is doing to increase his power. And together they discover, with many plot twists and other interesting sidelines I don't have time to go into, that Voldemort has created Horcruxes, which you might notice is the title of my sermon. Wikipedia describes Horcruxes thusly. A Horcrux is a receptacle in which a dark wizard has hidden a part of his soul for the purposes of attaining immortality. Even if the wizard's body is destroyed, a portion of his soul will remain preserved within the Horcrux. However, the destruction of the creator's body leaves the wizard or witch in a state of half-life without corporeal form. Now, this is what happened to Voldemort when he tried to kill Harry. When Lily, Harry's mother, put herself in front of this killing curse out of her absolute love for him, Voldemort's curse backfired and would have killed him if he hadn't earlier put his soul into various objects. As Wikipedia goes on to say, a Horcrux can be made from any normal object, including living organisms. Destroying a Horcrux will destroy the fragment of soul contained within it, ending its protection and returning the creator to a state of mortality. Well, when I read books 6 and 7, I was fascinated with the idea of Horcruxes. These objects into which Lord Voldemort places pieces of his soul. Now imagine that. What would a piece of your soul look like? These Horcruxes were chosen by him over the course of his life to reflect what he believed was important. Each object, with one powerful exception that I can't reveal without giving away the book's ending, are designed to reflect what he felt was most important: power over others and over death. These strange fictional creatures, Horcruxes, got me thinking about the human tendency to deny death. Part of what makes the Harry Potter books so excellent is how very human his magical world really is. J.K. Rowling has a great understanding of human nature, and though most of the characters in her books aren't quite like ordinary humans, they are nonetheless inspired and challenged by normal human emotions, and her books are really about 2 primary human feelings: love and fear. Love and fear. Now let me begin with fear. Fear is an emotion you would expect from children, and children are the primary characters in these books. And yes, Harry and his friends are often afraid, and for good reason. I mean, who wouldn't be afraid learning to fly a broomstick, or casting a spell to repel an enormous enchanted spider, or brew a potion that doesn't blow up in your face? But interestingly, though Harry is often afraid, he is also quite courageous, and his fear rarely keeps him from doing what he knows he must do to help a friend. His nemesis, however, the great and terrible Lord Voldemort, is the one who is truly afraid, and he is afraid of two things: losing his power and dying. And the entire 7-book series is the story of how Lord Voldemort turns his fear into hatred toward the one person who keeps him from becoming all-powerful and whose death he could not cause: Harry Potter. I find it fascinating that Rowling uses her fictional characters to comment on how the fear of death and the abuse of power lead to terribly stunted lives. Voldemort, who thinks he is all-powerful and who abuses that power in horrible ways, is terrified of dying and does everything that he can with his magical skills to keep himself alive forever. But the life he achieves when no one can kill him is no life at all. He is always angry. He takes pleasure in no one and nothing, and lives only to abuse those who are afraid of him. The immortality that Lord Voldemort seeks may look like life, but it's really just the barest form of existence. For as the other central character in the book, Harry himself, teaches us, life is only meaningful when it is lived with love. Love is at the heart of the Harry Potter books. Harry Potter, only a child when his parents died and raised without love by his aunt and uncle, somehow discovers that he has an enormous capacity for love. He's like those resilient children we read of, incredibly resilient. And very on in the book series, you learn of Harry's deep affection for his friends and his mentors. As the book series progresses, so does Harry's ability to understand how important it is to love even those who are imperfect in their love for him. One of the interesting side stories is the book about Harry's godfather, Sirius Black. Sirius is a complex character, neither near wholly good nor wholly bad. But because his love for Harry is real and true, Harry learns from him about courage in the face of loss and grief. The contrast between Voldemort and Harry is what makes these books so meaningful and religiously significant in my eyes. Voldemort, angry at life, eager for power, and afraid of death, places his soul into things so that he can't die. The Horcruxes he creates are symbols of his power over others. Each thing he chooses to turn into a Horcrux has some dark meaning in his life. But with the exception of the snake he always keeps by his side and one other unexpected source, the things into which Voldemort entrusted pieces of his soul are simply that: things. After I read the Harry Potter series, I began to understand at least one spiritual meaning written deep into the heart of these books. J.K. Rowling, by having Lord Voldemort split his soul into pieces and place them into objects, is telling us that our souls can be destroyed when we lose them in things. It doesn't matter how beautiful or powerful a thing makes us feel. If it's only a thing and our soul gets entrusted to it, it will betray us, no doubt about that. She contrasts this with Harry Potter, who doesn't care much about material goods, but cares a whole lot about people. It got me thinking about where Harry Potter was putting his soul. If there could be such a thing as a holy Horcrux, what would it be? Well, the answer is quite clear. Harry Potter trusts his soul to his friends. And when he must face the fear and hate that Voldemort sends his way, it is his love for his friends and their love for him that saves him. Literally, saves him. And it is that kind of love that allows Harry to face the scariest thing of all, the thing that so frightened Voldemort that he did everything he could to keep it at bay. And of course, I am talking about death. And you'll learn this about me this year. I talk about death a lot. So, well, the Harry Potter books are all about death. We learn very early on of Harry's parents' death, and as the series goes on, the body count just rises. Harry, like anyone facing such a great loss, gets angry at death. But despite this normal response, his loving spirit helps him recognize that there is far more to life than death. At a pivotal point in the final book, Dumbledore says to Harry, "The true master does not seek to run away from death. He accepts that he must die and understands that there are far, far worse things in the living world than dying." When Harry understands this, he becomes stronger than Voldemort. And nothing Voldemort throws at him can keep Harry from doing the most important thing in the world, loving and being loved. Well, the lessons I take from these wonderful books go straight to the heart of what I believe it means to be a religious person. All the great faiths remind us that love is central and that without it, we are less than human. Christians teach that God is love, and this is one Christian teaching that I believe in. If this is true, and it certainly seems true to me, then we can also say with confidence that love is stronger than hate, stronger than vengeance, even stronger than death. It is this kind of love that breeds forgiveness, acceptance, hope, and justice. It is this kind of love that allows the oppressed to stand up to the oppressor and say, "You can hurt me, you can even kill me, but my love is stronger than your hate." Gandhi called it soul force. Martin Luther King Jr. used it to save and change our world. Well, the people who argue that Rowling promotes some evil agenda, since her books are about magic and wizards and witches, are not paying attention. These books have deep religious values, just as Michael Gerson, whose faith is very different from mine, I might add, said in the article. The Harry Potter books have been read by millions of children and adults in countries around the world, and I think that's terrific. For Rowling's vision of a world where love is stronger than both hate and death is a world I want to live in. Rowling's visionary world is real in the lives of so many. Perhaps our children will carry that vision into the future, creating a brighter planet for us all. Now, yes, I know J.K. Rowling's world of wizards and witches is fictional. There are no Horcruxes to hold evil wizards' souls, and Harry Potter is just a figment of J.K. Rowling's prodigious imagination. But I can't help but be grateful to her for creating a world where the deep magic that is love emerges. When friends care for one another, families overcome enmity and learn compassion, and young people grow into adults who face their fears with courage and bless the world with their love. We too can bless the world with our love. You don't have to be a wizard, you don't have to be a witch to love this world and to love each other. Let us make a commitment to do so, my friends. And Hedwig and I invite you to rise in body or spirit and reach out to a neighbor for the closing words and the extinguishing of our chalice. May the deep magic that is love embrace and hold us. May the deep magic that is love guide our every deed and help us make our own days glad. And may the deep magic that is love move through us into our world on owl wings, blessing it with hope, justice, and peace. Amen, and blessed be.
We extinguish this flame,
But carry with us the light of vision and the warmth of hope.
the world calls to us with beauty and longing.
We go forth with courage and love.